didn't diminish my desire for the doctor's report to align with heaven, that by the stripes of Jesus, Dad was healed and whole. I hoped Dad would get a clean bill of health from the doctors. As we sat in the waiting room, I grabbed a cup of coffee from the small concession counter set up in the back of the room, grabbed a magazine from the table beside me, and began to occupy my mind as we waited for Dad's procedure to be completed. For a moment, I lifted my eyes from reading to see a man consoling a woman who was crying. I couldn't take my eyes off her. I wanted to look away but couldn't. I didn't know what had happened to her and her family, but my heart hurt for her. Then something on the inside of me, I know now the Holy Spirit, nudged me to ask if I could pray for her. My heart thumped harder and harder like a stampede of elephants. I looked around the room to see if anyone was watching me, because I was sure the entire room could hear my heart beating. And like most times when the Holy Spirit nudges me to pray for someone, I questioned it. Really? Do you really want me to do that? So I finally told my mom I'd be right back, peeled myself from the seat, and headed over to this lady. I knelt beside her chair and looked her in the face and asked, "Do you mind if I pray for you?" Tears streamed down her face, and she placed her hand on mine, nodded, and said, "Yes, please. My husband just went in for emergency triple bypass surgery. Thank you so much." So I prayed. I don't quite remember what I prayed, and I don't know what the outcome was, but I do believe God comforted her at that moment. Maybe it comforted her that even a stranger would choose to sit with her in this hard time. This would happen several times more at appointments with Dad, like on the cancer patient floor in Dad's last days. I just walked in to grab a cup of coffee in the family waiting room, and a wife whose husband was losing his battle with cancer sat alone in the middle of a cushioned sofa. She had both hands to her face, crying. I leaned toward her and asked, "Are you okay?" "My husband, he's not going to make it." "Oh no, I'm sorry. So sorry," I said, holding back my own emotion. "Do you mind if I pray with you?" She nodded her head yes. Then I prayed with her and hugged her before leaving. I don't know the outcome, but I do believe God met her that day. I believe God sat with her during her time of grief. And He sits with us, whether physically through another loved one, a trusted friend, and sometimes even a stranger. God is always there, ever present. We are never alone. The wind blows across our faces when we step outside for a walk. Oh, that's God. The salty air of the beach and sand between your toes, that's God too. Jesus sits with us even now, even as He sits at the right hand of the Father praying for us. It encourages me even today how God can use us and others to be His hands and feet here on the earth, to comfort those who need to physically feel His comfort. And even when we feel alone, maybe in the darkest of times in this journey of grief, we are never alone. First, we always have God with us. And second, God will send someone our way to sit with us if it is our desire. Maybe you're sitting listening to this in a waiting room. Maybe it's not a literal waiting room, but you are sitting in the in-between, between life after loss and what to do now or next. Maybe you've thought of the many times you've just felt alone. I felt alone for most of my grief journey. I don't say this to speak against those who love me or those around me. It is simply the truth. Maybe you're struggling with how to help someone who is in a time of grief. My husband will even admit to not knowing how to support me through my bouts of grief, but he truly has grown and learned how over the years, and that in itself is to be commended. When we love those who are hurting, those who grieve, we take action to learn how we can best help and be a support to them. I'm reminded of an old hymn, Never Alone. The song reminds us how Jesus is always with us, how He promised never to leave us alone. So even when I felt alone, and even when you feel alone, we are never alone. These days, I find myself more in a supportive community with connect groups at church, writing communities, and prayer groups.